You're in the mental health game. I don't want to misquote you, whatever else. Tell us about yourself, mate.
Yeah, so I'm a mental health practitioner, been a mental health nurse trained for about 16 years, but in the game for 19 years. And I work within the NHS in Suffolk, in fact, just, supporting people in primary care, which is people who tend to their GPs and kind of struggle with their mental health. We're kind of the first port of call, usually for people who are struggling with their mental health for a variety of reasons.
So are you the person what the doctor calls in, are you? Or
Yeah, pretty kind of. It's a brand new service, and it's kind of something that's been identified a few years ago that was needed nationally because to get, I'm sure as you're aware, mental health
don't
support.
get me started.
Yeah, I know it's an absolute nightmare and it's frustrating for us, but
Yeah.
it's like taking ages to get the right support. So what they were like was let's have people in GP surgeries that you can go to GP, the GP might have a chat and go, oh, by the way, they might think, okay, they're saying they're depressed, they've got low mood, they've got this and that going on. Let's get them to see the mental health practitioner in the surgery relatively quickly, and they can do a full-on assessment and then kind of signpost, refer, or provide some ongoing support to kind of help people. It's honestly, I've worked in the NHS for 19 years. It's the best service I've ever been part of, and one I actually feel is making a difference because prevention is better than cure, right? So if we can get in there early when people are kind of thinking, oh, I'm not doing too good, that can have a big impact than someone who's waited 2 years to get an assessment, diagnosis, or whatever it was they were after.
It's refreshing to hear that, mate. It
Yeah.
really is. Because I don't know how long you've been following MANUP. There's a doctor, you might know him. I'm going to presume you know all the doctors in Suffolk.
I know some.
Yeah, but no, there's one called Dr. Carol Savosky. He's based in Ipswich. No,
Okay.
he was based in Felixstowe,
Okay.
and he's been in a couple of videos on here. And I said to him point blank, I went to him, I went, as a doctor, why do you just jump straight to the happy pills?
Yeah.
And it pains me because he goes, because that's all the resources I've got.
Yeah. And the spot on it is. And I know that many people have frustration with GPs, but I know that in mental health to do a full on assessment, it's not like you come in with a sore throat and we go, or maybe, you try this and see if it helps. It could just be this. It's like we have to look at the whole biopsychosocial, spiritual picture of what's going on. That includes what's happened to you growing up, how that's affected you moving forward, family histories, kind of what your education and stuff in school was like, work, relationships, what's going on for you now regarding finances, job, relationships again. So it's like you can't just go, oh, right, yeah, you're struggling. This is the problem. Let's give you a pill. We have to look. And, that can take an hour usually I see it takes to see people, but we see people numerous times because it takes a few appointments usually to get an accurate picture of what's going on for someone. But GPs don't have that time. So I do
Yeah.
feel for GPs and
I,
they're right.
I do. Ever since I've done that video, I
Yeah.
was one of the people when I used to go to the doctors, like just, yeah, just, I need help. And they're like, okay, well, here's the antidepressants. And I'm like, I don't want them.
Yeah.
And then I'm getting angry at the doctor, and I didn't see that. I didn't see that half of.
Yeah.
I didn't. And when he said point blank, I'll have to after this. I'll share the video with you. It's an older
Yeah.
video when he just said, "That's all the resources I've got," and that must make a doctor feel crap.
Yeah, yeah, it does. And I think they do. I think there's this perception, isn't there, outside that doctors just don't care, but actually, they do care. But like you say, they want to help. If you've got 10 minutes and you want to help someone, and the only thing you can really do in 10 minutes is, well, okay, I can try this pill. Then of course that's what you're going to do, isn't it?
Yeah,
But so yeah, but equally I get people's frustration because you come in and you want to help, you want to talk about your problems, and most people just want to feel listened to. They don't
yeah,
necessarily want to be told, oh, try this, try that. That might get to that point, but often people just want a space to vent, to talk about their frustrations and explain how shit they're feeling. Because a lot of people won't listen to them, or people say they listen, but then when people go, actually, I'm not all right. They're like, well, actually, I don't really have time to listen to this. So you get a lot of people who kind of just want that space to be heard, and kind of GPs don't get that. So that's why it's good that we have people like us, because a lot of the time I will just sit there and listen,
yeah.
and they go, oh, I feel so much better for talking about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Do you find a lot of those come to you because they feel they can't fix stuff?
Yes, I mean, I generally feel like for me, when I think about good mental health and what people tend to think good mental health is generally like the ability to have a positive impact to make changes in your life.
Yeah,
And I feel like a lot of people, when they come to us, they don't know what else to do. And that's, and there probably are options they can do, but we only know what we know, right? And sometimes, when, for instance, if you've got a situation where maybe you're not working because maybe you're a carer for a relative, you're on benefits, but maybe your housing's at risk. So you've been told, oh, actually you're privately renting, for example, and you're told, oh, by the way, we're going to evict you. And then someone says, oh, we're going to reduce your benefits and stuff like that. Housing and finances are two very important things that if you don't have will cause you a lot of stress and make you really struggle. And like obviously when people and men are in those situations, like, what do I do? And sometimes I'll sit there and go, you know what? That's crap. I don't know what we could do right now, but within the GP surgeries, we have people called social prescribers, which can hook people up for housing, finances issues to get people support in like Citizen Advice Bureau or things like that. So they come to us and it's like they feel like they haven't got any options, but sometimes it's like us to show them the options. I would describe it like, you know, being stuck in a dark room on your own, can't see a door, there's no light switch, you just don't want to be there, you can't find a way out. And sometimes we're there to like open the door and go, hey, you can come this way, or we're there to just sit in the room with them while they're going through this difficult period, or stuff like that. So
do you going to put you on the spot here? Do you find that sometimes agreeing with them? And I'll give you context on that. There's been a few times where, like you, I have a lot of conversations all over the place. And sometimes I'll get a message. They're like, we'll use a dramatic thing of like that they've split up with the wife, the kids have gone with the wife, or the kid, or that usual setting. That bloke has to move out, and it is a big shit show. It really is. And I've been there myself, and actually, I find myself more and more and more saying to somebody when they're like, "My life's shit. I can't get out of this. Everything's crap." Do you know the best thing what I've worked out is actually say, "Yeah, it is."
yeah. When I say most, but I say that's all the time. I tend to say that initially, like
Oh,
to kind of validate.
that's refreshing, man.
Well, it's to validate what their experience, because it's like it's no good me saying, oh, have you tried thinking positive, or maybe no, that's not true. You shouldn't feel that way, because actually how you feel is how you feel. Like, I know it's a massive cliche in mental health, and it really annoys me when I hear it because it makes me feel sick. But it is okay to not be okay. So
Yeah,
when people's life feels like it's falling apart, which it will do to them, and if any one of us was them in their situation, having been through everything they have been through and what they're currently going through, would feel the same. It's important to just validate and go, yeah, actually, you know what? This is shit, you
yeah.
know? But then it's like, okay, but I'm here with you. What can we do to help you right now? I always say to people, and because obviously every day, every assessment we do is we review, we assess like self-harm, suicide ideation, stuff like that. I always say to people, we don't want to make a permanent decision on a temporary problem. And often that kind of helps people, a lot of people, not everyone, because when you get people who are really risky, they're like, nah, you know what, sod this, I'm done. And then you might have to think of like more immediate support, like crisis services, possibly inpatient services if needed. But that way kind of makes them go, oh yeah, I haven't really thought about that, because in the midst of it, it often feels like this is how we are and this is how it's going to be. And it's really hard to get ourselves out of that place on our own.
Do you find, yeah, again, I can only really speak on bloke's perspective because obviously, well, it's a mental health charity and
Yeah.
I have just happened to be one. But when our conversation with myself, when they're at this point of actually when they're ready to talk about it and how it saved the world, I find I get that a lot with people who have been at rock bottom. They start coming back up. They want to do a fundraiser, and it's so funny to watch because you
Yeah.
see them want to save the world. And I
Yeah.
think it's because they don't ever want anyone else to go in that hole.
Yeah.
But do you find, and I see the pattern, do you find a lot of blokes when they're coming to you and basically got the crazies,
Yeah.
they don't actually know how they got the crazies. And I think just through the conversation I have, it's because day one's problems turn into day two, day three, day four, and then the crack starts showing. And when they're speaking to me, they're like, I don't actually know what caused it.
Yeah.
And
No.
maybe it's because yeah, okay, we are massive fans of telling people to shut up and listen to other people, but we're also not scared to say, well, actually talk to your missus, talk to your
Yeah.
boyfriend, talk and try and resolve the problem before the small problem goes into bigger problems.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
making sense or
Yeah.
just what?
100%. Yeah. I
Do
think
you-
as men, I do think, historically, we're kind of conditioned to think we have it all figured out. So I
Fixers.
think,
Well, we're fixers, aren't we?
yeah,
We like
yeah,
to fix
we're
stuff.
protectors. We want to fix problems and feel like we're providing. So when we're not doing that, I think often that feels like it's a reflection on us,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of shame that comes to that. But we don't like to talk about shame. We don't like to, what human really likes to go, yeah, actually, I don't think I'm very good. I don't think I'm a very competent person. I don't think I'm very good at being a dad or bringing home enough money. And so we don't really like to talk about it. So we bury it. I think we just bury stuff. And I know for me, from my own individual experience of what I went through when I was a kid, like I just buried it because I thought, oh, I've got this together, I'll be all right. And it does end up, manifesting into this big, huge thing. And sometimes it can just be something little that just tips us over the edge. We're
yeah,
humans, we can only manage so much stress in our lives. And I think this is why often when you see with stuff like PTSD, or I don't really like the word disorder when we talk about mental health, but you know, we often see like people in like the forces and stuff like that who've been through some absolutely horrific stuff. And then literally something small, like, I don't know, a car breaking down or something like that could,
I've got a really good example on that. There's a video before we were a charity, when we are just a page of just a few blokes having a laugh and trying to save the world. Exactly what I was just saying. There was a guy called Dino's, what it's a really old video before we had all the branding and whatever else, and he had PTSD. It was one of those videos where one of my mates, who's now my chair trustee, he was like, "I've got a really good video, a really good idea." So we pulled him into a video, and he started talking, and he looked fucking deflated.
yeah,
And it was one of those things where I was thinking, do I just secretly turn off the Wi-Fi to kill the video? Because just his persona and everything was just like, we're making a mistake. It's safeguarding.
yeah,
And then he said, as he started to open up a little bit, he said within reason, I think he was in Iraq and Afghanistan, he's been through some bad stuff.
mm,
And he said there was one day where he was filling up a sugar pot, the bags,
yeah,
filling up a sugar pot. And what he didn't realize is his missus had swapped the sugar pot. I think she was trying to secretly t hinting at him,
yeah,
swapped the sugar pot for a smaller one. So
yeah,
he overfilled it. And it filled all over, tipped
yeah.
over. Dog started going mental, licking it all up. 3 hours later, I think it was Colchester police were
Wow.
talking him off a bridge.
Yeah.
And it sounds so, because people look at it and go, yeah, all of that because you tipped a bit of sugar. Come on, mate.
But
It's not. It's all the shit what built up to that moment.
yeah. And we all have limited capacity. This is just all humans have this, a capacity to what amount of stress or stresses we can handle, you know, in our lives. And so anything essentially could be the thing that could really tip us over the edge. You could have like a man who, for instance, is looking after his elderly parents for so long, and then suddenly like he gets a crappy email at work and he just says, that's it, I've just had enough. And he just ends up getting depressed, anxious, can't sleep, losing interest in life, things like that, because it's just that thing that tips you over the edge and your mental health deteriorates. I mean, I kind of see like depression is like being crushed under the weight of expectation of trying to have everything together, like spinning so many plates, but we've got too many to spin and we just think sod it, you know. And that's essentially what will happen with so many men, and not just in post-traumatic stress, but all of us when it comes to our mental health. And I
You
don't think
know,
society is really geared up for healthy mental health at the moment, because I think we're expected to, be amazing parents, be successful solopreneurs, catch up, be up to date with what's on Netflix, have the perfect morning routine, have the perfect body, have the perfect, you know, uh, dietary intake, all these sort of things. And we're like, I just think we're just so overwhelmed as
yeah.
people now that it's much easier for us to be burdened and overwhelmed by life and become ill because of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think society, personally, I don't want to turn it into us and them. I think society just needs to just calm down a little bit and just drop some of the expectations of men.
Yeah,
And it does kind of feel like a rule for one and not a rule for other. I don't know. Say for example, I've used this a few times. Like Tom Hardy, I'm sure you
yeah,
know Tom. I
yeah,
don't. If you share a photo of Tom Hardy on Facebook, the women go nuts, and you'll
mm,
see some weird comments and all this kind of stuff. But if a man did the same thing,
yeah,
you'd be like, "Oh, that's sexist," and you're a sex pest and all this kind of stuff. It's like, well, oh, no one, the blokes were a little bit offish,
Yeah,
and just getting the crazies. They're just literally losing the plot because they're just like, I don't know what, I can't say anything because whatever I do say is wrong.
yeah,
And I guess it's the same with, I hate talking about emotions. I'm not an emotional person.
mm,
And what I hate about the mental health world, and I've had this with therapists and I've had it with psychologists before in Zoom videos, where it's like, be more emotional, be more emotional. I'm like, but you're telling me I'm broken then.
mm,
Because I'll talk to you, but I'll talk to you on under my rules. I'll go for a walk with you. I'll do wild camping. It doesn't matter what it is.
yeah.
Please don't talk to me about being more sensitive and have a good cry on emotions because I'm not that type of person.
Yeah, yeah. And this is why I think we can look all the data, we can put it together and say, oh, this is what we should do for this group of people, and this what we should do for that group of people. Ultimately, we're working with individuals. And
Yeah,
I know my job as a clinician isn't to go, oh, you're a man, let's get you to do this, this, and that. I'll go, well, what's the problem? How do you want to be helped? How do you want to go through this? And one person will be like, oh, you know what, I feel like I need to talk about what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And another person will be like, no, I just want some medication to help me just get on with life. And I
yeah,
think it's really important we respect men and ask them what they want and support them how they want to be supported. But
yeah.
again, that comes down to approaching people as individuals.
No, exactly that. And I think that this is why I continue. Then how many videos are on there now? I used to count, and I just can't. But it's just too many. But it's a good few hundred now.
Yeah.
And like we don't ever give advice as a charity.
No.
We give our opinions as individuals, but we don't give advice. We let people like you do the talking, because
Yeah.
then hopefully that if somebody's watching this, they
Yeah.
might watch it and go, "Oh, that Dan's like just off again. What a prick!" But there'll be something what you say, and they're like, "I haven't tried that."
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the thing I think, and that's again what frustrates me with try this, try that, and do the tick list of mental health. But ju- just try something because if you're sitting at home in a hole and you're quite happy to moan about the wife or the boyfriend or whatever and moan about everybody else and you're not willing to at least try
Yeah.
to do something, if that's wild camping, knitting,
Yeah.
I don't care what it is,
Yeah.
try something else.
Yeah, we have to look. We have to. I mean, I sometimes I've been guilty of saying about personal responsibility a bit too harshly with people, and that you just need to take responsibility for your life. We need community, right?
Yeah,
But equally, like we do need to do things for ourselves that might help things to be a bit better.
yeah,
Whether
uh,
that could be someone who's laying in bed all morning thinking how crap their life is, and actually they might need to just go have a shower or
yeah,
just go out for a walk. Or it might be like I need to I need to speak to my boss about something, or I need to do this, this, and that. We need to, we have got agency as people, and again, I say when you've got people around you like your team, I always think it's like the people around you is it like playing at home, in Ipswich it's Portman Road, or is it like being Ipswich and being away at Carrow Road? You need good people around you. If you've got everyone telling you you're crap and you're a rubbish person, it's going to be hard. But then we do need to, but within that, we need to find ways to help ourselves. And again, that's often what my role is, to be beside people while they're trying to help themselves, and while we're also putting support in place to help them with areas in their lives they may not necessarily have the skills or knowledge to deal with.
yeah, no, exactly that. And I think that's where we can all just be patient with somebody else
Yeah,
and
yeah,
just say try this, because funny enough on Facebook there was Facebook has shared something. I purposely like to be a bit trolly. I can't help myself, and
yeah,
I think I said on Facebook. Oh, this is on the MANUP page. It's like
yeah,
one of those image things.
yeah,
Just saying that actually being a men's mental health advocate isn't about telling people to talk.
yeah. No,
It's about changing how we listen
yeah,
and all
yeah,
this kind of stuff.
yeah.
And it's funny on that, even that, like people getting really annoyed about it.
Yeah. But you're right, because I think what we've been doing for the mental health awareness across the board, not just men's, has been, oh, time to talk day. We've got to get people
Yeah,
to talk about your mental health. But ultimately, I know if everyone you're talking to is just dismissing you or telling you just need to suck it up and get on with it, or for instance with men, oh, here goes a man just complaining again about things that aren't actually problems, you know that's just completely dismissing people, and then they close up and they don't want to talk. So actually it is about listening. And I know that historically, yes, women probably have definitely had it harder, but
yeah,
it doesn't mean that now we should just crap all over men to kind of even the score a bit. It's like, okay, if we,
It
and
does
you know,
feel
if
like that. Yeah.
yeah, you know, and if we, and women and most of them know that if we look after the men, it's better for them, and not just men and women, but whatever gender you align with, you know, however you identify. But I think we need to like just listen. And I literally think if anyone said to me, well, how can I help people with their mental health? I'll always say, just listen.
Yeah.
Like listen, like non-judgmentally as best you can. Yes, we're going to judge a little bit. We think, why the hell are you doing that? But don't try and shame people for the choices they make. Just listen and try and put yourself in their shoes and think, oh, I can kind of understand. And then just ask them how they want to be helped, if at all, and do
Yeah.
your best to be there by their side.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree with you. So is there like a number one pattern? I guess no, but is there like a pattern of? Actually, I'm gonna give you two questions. You can
Okay.
answer one after the other. Just while they're in my head, there's the BPD. Just
That's
so what is there like a pattern? I think you're going to say no, but the other one, who sends the bloke to you? Is that themselves or is it normally the missus? Yeah, I know I'm picking on the straight people. Is it the missus or
I, I, I know. I would say generally it is men on their own because a lot of people are on
really?
their
Right,
own.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, more than not. But I generally find that the discussions happen as part of another assessment. So the doctor, someone might go like, "I'm not sleeping very well," to their doctors or something like that.
I've had that one.
Doctor
Yeah,
will ask you to go, "Oh yeah," but they start asking about your mental health and stuff like that, and they'll go, "Oh yeah, I've been feeling a bit low. Maybe I've been, having issues at work, stuff like that." And it comes about by that. So then they get referred to us. Of course, there are lots more men now talking about their mental health and coming, "Yeah, I'm struggling." And I feel once they've kind of broken that door down in the sense of like they've done it once, they then feel the courage to do it. But a lot of the time, equally, it is like as a byproduct of trying to deal with something else,
yeah.
So, and that's often how they come to us. So, I mean, is there a pattern? Again, not necessarily. There's things
Okay.
that it's just different for everyone. But yeah, I would say that most of the time men are, I would say, reaching out in my experience on their own a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's quite refreshing. Has that changed in your 19 years or?
I think so, yeah. I mean, again, I was working in a much different area when I first qualified. So when I first qualified, I was working in like acute inpatient units. So people with like severe and enduring mental illness like schizophrenia, bipolar type 1, who are really unwell. So I wasn't really in primary care like I am now. So it'd be hard to say, but I would definitely say over the years, more and more men are presenting with depression and anxiety and symptoms of like BPD or things like that. Eating disorders is getting bigger. Memory of eating disorders, stuff like that. So I think it is growing, but I think that is again because people are more aware of it now.
Yeah.
Um,
Would you not just chuck it in there? You know I was bulimic years ago. I think bulimia and BPD are linked out anyway, aren't they?
uh,
I believe so anyway. But the trouble is, I see so many statistics now. I'm just like, "Oh, all over the place." And so I was bulimic years ago, but I wasn't doing this to lose weight. I think there was like a self-punishment weird thing going on. Thankfully, but that's all over. But I've always been quite. I remember how horrible that was. So any chance I can try and get a bloke to talk about his eating disorder, past or ongoing, I've tried to do it. And one, it's really hard to get blokes on it. There's like a massive shame. But
yeah,
the annoying thing is if we upload it, I think it's about two or three over the year. It might be five. I think it's like closer to two or three. Social media bans it.
really.
And I get it, and we have to go through like a big spat, like a email dispute. So we literally can't talk about it, not because we don't want to.
Mm,
It's because literally it will get blacklisted very, very quickly, or only you and two other people can see it, and
that's
it
interesting.
frustrates me so much because
But
it's like, well,
yeah, I do find with eating disorders, or maybe call it disordered eating, for a lot of men, I think for me, and this impacted me, like, when I was struggling a few years ago, I thought my worth was in having like a six pack. And, I basically watched the film 300 with Gerard Butler and thought, right, if I look
oh,
like that,
okay,
people
yeah,
will love me. But I think you see a lot of people who go to the gym, get into kind of bodybuilding stuff, and they develop kind of disordered eating by where they like restrict their calories. They feel like they worry, they get anxious about what they're going to eat. And I think that's in a way kind of masks that kind of feelings of shame that they're not good enough unless they have this appearance and this certain look in their body. I don't really feel that's something that's necessarily spoken about in mental health. I think when it comes to eating disorders, we still stick with the kind of anorexia and bulimia,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
and
Yeah,
binge eating maybe more so now and then. But I think with men, I would definitely say, and I know from my experience that that is a problem that is kind of, I think, is probably not spoken about enough.
yeah,
So it's a
no,
shame that it's closed off those sort of topics, because I think a lot of men would relate to that, saying, yeah, I really got into the gym. It was good for my mind, but then I was like, oh, I'm only eating chicken and broccoli, and I better not eat that Mars bar, because and you
yeah,
start grabbing bits of fat around your body and stuff like that, thinking
yeah.
there's something wrong with you.
But yeah, again, I don't fit. Yeah, again, I really don't want to turn it into an us and them. But if you look at any, if you, it seems totally fine for social media, a sweeping statement, to comment on a bloke if he's a bit a dad's bod or all this kind of stuff. That's totally fine to basically take the piss. But yeah, again, if a woman did the same thing and somebody goes, "Oh, she's a bit chubby," or whatever
Mm,
else,
mm,
they will be cancelled.
mm, yeah.
And we've got to have some sort of fair. I'm not going to say equal, because if we do start having everything completely equal, everything will be a
Mm.
bit boring, really.
Yeah.
I think we've got to have some sort of fairness.
I think it's just about like rather than treating people as what gender they are, just as humans,
Yeah,
remembering thinking that when you're saying something, is this likely to hurt someone?
yeah,
Um, and I know that a lot of people, I hate the phrase hurt people, but in some sense it's a bit true. Like usually if people go out their way to put other people down, it's because inside they feel insecure about themselves. Apart
yeah.
from when we're talking about the Tories, then they deserve it. So
I can't say too much because we're a charity,
yeah.
because
Oh
we
yeah, you
can't
could
be
delete
bothered.
that bit if you want.
No, no, it's absolutely fine. But me as an individual, totally agree with you.
Yeah.
So there we go. So just bloody hell, we're flying through this. So just before we draw to a close, there's that little queue of I'm going to call it down in a minute.
Yeah.
Just to be honest with you. So if I probably know what you're going to say, and I find this bit really boring. I don't mean how that sounds, because I just feel like I was saying the same thing over and over and over again. I presume you probably get the same. But if somebody's watching this and they are a little bit, I hate that term triggered these days. But if they're a little bit triggered, or just like they're just feeling a bit now, they know something's wrong. What do you tell them to do as a professional?
As a professional, if there's something wrong, I mean, it's the cliche, isn't it? I'll go ask for help. Like
Well,
if there's,
you as a man and a professional, go whatever angle you want. So I don't want to.
I mean, yeah, I probably would like, I would say for myself, I think what tends to work. Well, letting people know that you're not alone, asking for help and so you're not alone. I think so many people feel like they're the problem and that what they're going through is completely individual to them. But when we bring that shame and that kind of that dissatisfaction, that disappointment, how life is going out into the air, we can often see it for what it is, and people will go, "Oh yeah, I go for that as well."
Yeah,
And then we realize that actually we're not alone with it. I
yeah,
know a lot of the time in my job, there used to be the thing with mental health practitioners, psychologists, that you don't share what you've been through. And of course, I don't make any sessions about me and what I've been through. But sometimes, when I've working with someone, I go, "Oh, I went through that too." They go, "Really?" And you go, "What was that like?" And I just say, "Yeah, it was hard, but this is what I found helpful. You might find this helpful or you might not, but and it just helps people realize they're not alone."
yeah.
Um,
I think that like being lonely is horrible. It doesn't matter what your gender is. Being lonely is absolutely shit.
and the main thing is to like recognize that life right now, I know, like, yeah, we're not in the medieval times, but like it's hard.
Yeah,
Like, so to think that you should have it all figured out is kind of really unrealistic. So
yeah,
there's no one, and I don't care who they are, not even the best gurus who have got millions of followers, like the Stephen Bartlett's and all that out there, eh? They have not got their shit together. They have problems, but equally on social media and that, people will present like they have it figured out because they have a product to sell.
yeah,
So just remind yourself that what you're seeing out there isn't true, that everyone is going through something. Yes, some people have it worse. And we know when we look at people with poverty, who are going through relationship breakups, who are struggling at their jobs, that's going to impact you more, especially if you've raised in a dysfunctional family growing up.
yeah,
That's a really awkward, that's a awful concoction of things that's going to make you feel messed up. But you're not alone. There's people who've been through it. You're not. There's people who have had it. I hate the saying it's worse, but there's people who've been through worse and got through it. So there's people who've been through worse than you, but also the same as you and have got through it as well. So speak to people, reach out, and find someone who can listen to you and help you through it.
absolutely. And this is why I'm a massive fan of I used to hate it, but I'm a massive fan of like the Andes clubs and the talk clubs and there's literally a community for everything now.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
that, and that's what I love. And we did a video. I don't know if you've seen it yet. We did a video called the Pity Party.
okay.
And what I mean by that, just a bit, because as soon as I say that, I normally, especially if they're in the mental health, it's like, oh, I can't believe I'm saying that. But you can, very much, I'm BPD, I'm high functioning depressive as well. Yeah, again, high functioning, some one of the good ones.
Yeah,
It's just like, I just find if I don't drag myself out to go get in that shower or do something, I can move into the pity party.
yeah, yeah,
And then I can start hating people like you because you're a mental health professional. I hate the doctor because he won't help me. It's sending me through to this website and all this kind of stuff. Where sometimes I have to take those steps
yeah,
before that kicks in.
yeah,
And this
yeah.
is why going to these like little communities, like in Ipswich. Did you know in Ipswich is a 3D printing group?
No.
Exactly. So I'll never go.
Yeah.
I'll never go myself at all. I've got a 3D printer upstairs, which is very, very rarely used.
Yeah.
But you know what? If that helps them relate to each other, it's not wrong.
No, no, exactly. And this is it. Like I always say to people, like we have these expectations put on us about what a good life looks like. But ultimately, it doesn't matter if it's what you want. And you're happy with that. That's all that matters. Like if you're someone who just wants, we shame a lot of people for say alcohol use now and normal bloke things. But actually, if you love your life because you go watch the Ipswich Town Football Club and have a few beers with your mates and you're happy, then who's am I to tell you that you shouldn't be? That's not like
Yeah.
high vibe or whatever it is that people say it should be. Do what works for you, and it doesn't matter. 3D printing, playing World of Warcraft, whatever it is, if it makes you happy, just go do it.
Exactly that. And yeah, and if too many people are telling you it's wrong,
Yeah,
find new people,
exactly.
in my
Exactly.
opinion. But
Yeah.
on that bombshell, that's the bit where I'm going to hit that unrecord button. Bear me one second. I think you're just one of those nice guys.